I'm going to try and keep to about 20 minutes to give you an overview of RoboShadow, just to understand all of the core inputs and outputs of how people use RoboShadow today. This video will be accompanied with a more in-depth onboarding video, but hopefully this should give you a good overview. So probably the best place to start is the overview diagram that we use on most client demos. So I'll go into these elements in more details as part of this overview, but I'll just quickly run you through so you can build up a mental picture. So we have an external attack surface for external vulnerabilities. We have three agents. We have the Windows and Mac agent, and we have very soon coming the Linux agent into 2026, so depending on when you're watching this video. Each of the Windows agents can turn into a neat little LAN scanner, and I'll show you that as we go through. We also very much run towards the Microsoft platforms. You can sync with Intune, you can sync with 365, you can roll out via Intune, you can sync with Defender, and we have like a 365 security overview piece within the product as well. So very much as 365 becomes part of all of our day-to-day lives, we very much kind of bring all of that data into the platform. Where a lot of our growth is coming from and a lot of the appreciation of our products is just in our cyber hill. So we have what we call AI AutoFix. So it's not just third-party applications. We can also configure benchmarks of things like CIS level 1, general configuration for cybersecurity elements within the operating system, and also Windows updates and things like that. So we will look to fix 60, 70, 80 or 90% of the issues. Anything we can't fix, as you can see here, we can pop a ticket into your PSA platform to let you know there's something that needs to be done manually by local teams and support personnel. This all gets a lot more exciting with the AI suite as well. So not just an AI pen test that we have, which effectively runs as a penetration test simulation. It also, you have what we call a Virtual CISO, which means that you can interact with not just via a chat window, but you can send an email. Can you send me this client report? Or can you give me the worst vulnerabilities? Or can you run this prompt at 7 p.m. on a Monday afternoon or something like that? Just to give you a bit more guidance and support from using the AI LLM tools, just to make sure that we're trying to reduce the cost and the complexity and the overhead of managing the cybersecurity environment. And that's where our AI tools are becoming very, very exciting for us indeed. On the right-hand side of the diagram, you'll see the outputs of the platform effectively. So we've already spoken about ticket integrations. So the platform can log tickets for you. The AI can also log tickets for you to say, look, here's the stuff that I can do automatically for you, but here's the stuff I can't. Would you like me to log a ticket for you? That could be like changing an external firewall port or something like that. So we also have exports for the main compliance frameworks. So we're adding these all the time. So feel free to get in touch if there's one that's particularly important to you. So this will just serve as being able to collect the evidence required for when you're going for assessments and audits for things like that. So we also have standard reporting, things like vulnerability assessment reports, and we have a daily report that comes out as well. And already mentioned, we have an AI pen test, which is like large language models over a vulnerability assessment data set. So we also have export to CSVs. You can also API into the platform. Everything within the platform is available as part of an API, so you can bring it into your own BI platforms and reporting. As you can see, from the inputs all the way through the system to the outputs, we can help you manage things to a penetration testing level or a compliance framework level, or just simply your client or your team wants to manage things to a 7+ CVSS score from a vulnerability perspective. And what we're trying to do is just reduce that complexity and cost of you managing cybersecurity on a daily basis. So as we go into the dashboard, what we effectively aim to do is to give you a window to the cybersecurity universe, but within a scroll. So as we go down, we can see the core application vulnerabilities. So these are the things that become very much leaky bucket on a daily basis. You can see the external vulnerabilities, again, for your websites, data center IPs or office locations and things like that. Then where are you at from an antivirus perspective? So quite often people will have a mixture of antivirus. They may have the default Windows Defender, but some other third-party AV as well. So we will report on just about every single antivirus product on the planet. And if we don't have it for some reason, then get in touch and we can get that added for you. So as we go through Windows updates, not just in a read-only mode, we can actually execute updates of servers, patching for desktops, not just the core security elements as well. We can also do the drivers and the other elements that just help make life that little bit easier. As we go through LAN scanner, I'll show you that in a bit more detail, but you can just see the kind of core elements of the LAN scanner there. We also report on data and disks in general, but it's the encryption, the BitLocker encryption that's becoming ubiquitous now. You can argue servers and workstations, if locked behind data centers or offices, don't need encryption so much, but the laptops certainly do. So we will report on that here, but also just a bit more information about shares and other sort of logical information around disk management in general. So as I mentioned before, we pull in that 365 data. So just one of the elements here that we're showing here on the dashboard is where you're at from an MFA status in general. That's not just the users, it's also your global administrators and guests. Our AI will also look at your global administrators and say, is this an elevated account as it should be, or is this an over-permissioned user account? And it will help report on things like that as well. So one of the things that we're becoming a lot more popular for is what is called in penetration testing and security circles as reconciliation with a primary user store. And that just effectively means that you can reconcile with 365, on-prem Active Directory and Intune as well, and just to find those feral machines. So if you fail a pen test, a compliance framework, or indeed get hacked, it's quite often a machine that you don't know about. It's a feral machine. It could be a display utility or something like that running in a broom cupboard somewhere. So what this does will just find those feral machines just so that you can understand, where do I have machines that connect to my business data and are likely to be a threat. But you can also go to the 365 sync menu where you can sync with 365. If it detects that Windows Defender is enabled in that account, you can also sync with Defender. That will pull the vulnerability data from Defender into the platform, will help us triangulate for you a bit better. And you can also, as I've said before, sync with Intune and roll out via Intune as well. I'm just going to run you through a few of the kind of core scanners within the product as well. So let's go into the external scanner. So this is really popular. It's one of their more sort of organic sort of viral tools. We get a lot of people just coming in to do an external scan. So I'll have a look here. I'll see if I can find one of these scans that's got some data. There you go. So, and it's no secret, we will use some of the open source technology just because it's what people understand. Again, if any of this stuff goes to litigation, people need to know that they're comparing apples to apples. So we will scan the IP with Nmap. We will also use the sort of ZAP scanner, sort of OWASP type tools, just so that you can understand a bit more about web applications that are running on those IP addresses. We can also do authenticated scans as well for a little bit more advanced usage. So where you see Robo AI, so this is more of our AI tools just for triangulation. So the open source tools are about 75% accurate depending on whose benchmarks that you're looking at. Our Robo AI is a combination of our AI and research teams working together to get false positives down and false negatives down effectively. Anywhere you see RoboGuard, this is the continuous vulnerability assessment. So this is what you need for things like SOC 2, ISO 27001. So this just demonstrates that we're continuously scanning your IP addresses. And if a new port opens up or a new vulnerability on an existing open port, you can rest assured that we will give you an email or a notification to let you know that something's changed that you might need to look into. So we also pull in the Shodan data. Obviously, Shodan being the hacker search engine of such. So if your IP addresses are in there, it just means you may need to just keep a slight better tabs on those IP addresses that come up within Shodan. So I'll just go into one of the scanners that we've got here. So as I go into one of the scans here, you can see that we block out some of this data for demo purposes, but it will show you the open ports and it will give you an understanding of the various different scanning engines and where they come up across the various different scanning engines. You can also see here, we have an SSL scanner for the external scanning. You can also see that we have a domain enumeration scan. This just allows you to put your URLs into the platform and then it will go ahead and look at various different subdomains for your URLs to see if there's anything out there that you're not scanning that you should be. So I'll just run into the LAN scanner quickly. This is probably one of the most popular tools as well. We made this due to client demand as well. So effectively you just click on the machine that you want to scan, or scan from, should I say, and then you click start scan. That's going to go ahead and very quickly give you a full IoT device scan of that particular subnet. It will then do a port scan of all of the ports open on those devices and then do a vulnerability assessment on those ports. So very quickly in one click, you can get a good understanding of the LAN segment and very quickly know where the vulnerabilities are and where to spend your attention and time. This is good really to show up if you've got routers and internal sort of switches and things like that that are vulnerable, that need firmware updates and things like that. As you can see here, we also have a dark web scanner. So this is new for 2026. And what this is effectively going to do is allows you to pull in all of your 365 email addresses and just check the core databases like IBM, Pwn and various different ransomware databases to see if there's anything that's come up on the dark web that you're not aware of. So this is a very popular feature request by a lot of the RoboShadow users, and just going to allow you to get a little bit more insight into where your customers' data or your own data could be hiding. Onto the device vulnerabilities, which effectively is probably one of the most popular parts of the platform. So we very much lay this out. Instead of obsessing about every individual CVE, it's like, look, what application is vulnerable, regardless of its amount of vulnerabilities, because you know the job that you need to do is just get that application patched. So it will show you the top fives and will show you at an application level where your vulnerabilities are. And if I just go in here to show you the menu here, you can update via a Winget repository. So that will use the Winget database to go and find that application to work out what needs to be updated. And here I can click and say update. I can force the upgrade of another application, so you can switch the application for Firefox or something like that. And then you can also control about how you control device restarts and if you need to uninstall the application first. A lot of applications don't directly update that nicely, so sometimes you have to uninstall them first. And you can also kick off a schedule of when you want this to run. But the thing that's very, very popular is that what we're able to do is to create an AutoFix rule. So what this will do, and for anyone that's got multiple accounts, you can do this on a tenant level to effectively say, right, upgrade this application if ever it becomes vulnerable, but choose the device restarts if it's a particular critical application, but you can exclude the servers and say, right, delay the rollout. So maybe do 5 devices day 1, 15 day 2, and 50 day 3. This just stops some of the carnage that happens if ever the vendor brings out a negative patch. We're always updating and enhancing this, and the AI feature is really expanding here just to give you more access to more tools and drivers, just to try and make your life that bit more easier. So the other elements that you've got in this window as well, you can bring your own software and just use it like a normal RMM effectively. You can remove completely. I think the stat was 62% of vulnerable applications are no longer used by the user and can be removed. And we've also got suppression as well. So if ever there's a false positive that's come out via the vendor or via the various different CVE databases, you can suppress issues there, and you can also do that at a tenant level. So it's not just the vulnerable applications, you can just manage the software inventory in general. So if you go into the software page, it will just give you a big overview to understand what applications are out there in the estate and which ones currently have upgrades available. So you can just go through this menu, and for anything that's not got an AutoFix rule applied, you can go through, set up an AutoFix rule if that applies to that particular application. And this is just a nice way of being able to manage your software inventory a bit more holistically. Just to keep it short from a demo perspective, I won't go into the OS updates, antivirus and data and disk. I'll leave you to explore those on your own, but effectively each of the main dashboard items that's got its own drill through, and where there's sort of CyberHill AutoFix capabilities, they'll be present on those pages as well. So I'll go into the benchmarks here. These are the core benchmarks that you can not only read but also change via AutoFix. So you can create AutoFix rules for these benchmarks. These are the core 15 that users have requested, but very soon, new to 2026, depending on when you watch this video, you'll be able to do the full CIS level 1 benchmark, which I believe is maybe over 400. So that's really kind of a nice feature that people are enjoying. Just really just gets that config nailed in the environment for you, and we can do that en masse automatically. So I'll do a quick flick over to the downloads page. So you can see here, obviously we've said that you can install via Intune and just set up Intune one-click sort of deployment effectively, but here you can install the various different operating systems, and will also allow you to download PowerShell scripts and just to be able to deploy via an RMM. The single installation is very easy. It's just an installer effectively with an organizational code to let it know what organization to put that particular agent to. You can also see here on this screen a cheeky little nod to the AI MCP extension. So you can now use RoboShadow via your favorite LLMs and just plug in via a model context protocol, and you can have access to all of the RoboShadow data and even control RoboShadow from your favorite LLM. So as we go onto the Intune page, so this is really just the main bits within Intune that kind of catch people out. Number one, is it Intune? What known compliance issues that Intune has flagged up? Any core risks or unmanaged sign-ins, geographical sign-ins or signing attempts from non-Intune machines? This is just going to give you a bit of a window here, but also allow you to do a full scroll. There's an advanced feature here that just allows you to scroll through all of your Intune data. Onto the 365 benchmark. So 365 is a big beast, as we know. So we think the CIS level 1 benchmarks, they've done a fairly good job. So you'll see here all of the CIS level benchmarks, where your account is from that benchmarks perspective, but then also any ones that we can fix or change for you, you can do that via AutoFix effectively. So we will urge people to be careful, because sometimes you can lock yourself out of 365 platforms and stuff. That's quite a powerful tool, but will just allow you to work out where is your organization or customer from a CIS level 1 benchmark perspective, and also set up AutoFix rules to keep on top of it, just in case one of your techs has a bad day and opens something up potentially that they shouldn't have. I'm not going to go through all of these exports, but here's where you can do the API integration, which is very easy and quick. The whole of our platform runs on APIs. You can export to CSV, so if you want to re-import into things like Ninja or other RMMs. This is where the AI pen test lives. So this is the large language models over vulnerability assessment data, and where you can get your compliance reports, exports for the common compliance frameworks. And there's also a neat vulnerability assessment report, which is a very client-friendly run through with a score effectively where you're at from a vulnerability assessment perspective. So a quick AI overview in the platform. You're seeing these LLM tools become more and more prevalent within RoboShadow. I'm just going to run you over quickly what our product does natively within the actual application itself. But as I've mentioned before, you can connect via a model context protocol. We can also store prompts to run at certain times, and you don't even have to log into the application. You can just send to an email address what your prompt is, and that will reply to the email address that was sent with the data or the exercise that you requested. This is what I call a wonder prompt, which is a very big batch of information, just everything that's impertinent to this particular account. So this will go through, as you can see, run through various different APIs, various different overviews, and then you start getting the data out. So in this particular example, we've had to blur out some of the data because I believe that this is a live client. But ultimately, what's the high level summary? What are the top 5 risk areas, just the core data sets that you need to be aware of? What are the elements that are being managed by AutoFix? So what's AI AutoFix managing for you, so that you don't have to worry about, and we're just waiting for machines to log into? What are the manual things that AI AutoFix, not AI AutoFix, what are the manual things that CyberHeal can fix but need your permission to? So these could be the things that are non-intrusive to the user. So this particular element here says this is a low user impact, probably can be done during the day. And then what are the high user impacts that are likely to need reboots or maybe change tickets that you need to log? It will also go through, give you an understanding of where your benchmarks are at, give you an external scanner overview as well, tell you where you're at from an onboarding perspective. So, have you done everything? Have you synced with 365? Have you synced with Intune and all the other elements? It will also suggest to you PSA tickets that are required to be logged into the PSA system. So it could be an external port that AI AutoFix can't fix for you, as I've mentioned before, and that will go ahead and log that ticket in your PSA system. And it will also give you a nice brief overview for the client to say, here's what we've done. We've done a bit of a cybersecurity purge for you today, for want of a better expression. Here's the overview. Here's what we've done today. Again, it's just nice keeping clients or senior management updated to understand where you're at from a cybersecurity perspective and what's been done more recently. So these prompts can be written just at your heart's desire, and we're already finding that the RoboShadow community are having quite a bit of fun coming up with their own prompts and storing them to be able to execute at certain times of the day, week, or month. This menu system here is where you have your multi-tenant element. I'll leave you to play with that at your own time. But coming in here to the main menu system, here's where you can manage elements that you've suppressed, PSA integrations as well. Here's where you can manage your branding. We do full branding across the whole of the RoboShadow platform as well. And here's you can manage plans and pricing and other sort of general settings within the platform. So hopefully that was useful for you. Hopefully that was a good overview. Our team will demo anyone, anytime, anywhere in the world. We're very proud of our product and we very much like spending time with you guys. So if this hasn't given you everything that you need, please get in touch and we're more than happy to do a private demo, private overview for you just to get you up and running within the RoboShadow platform.